Why your short-form content strategy is actually a ticking time bomb. Here's something that's been bothering me lately. Every small business owner is being told they need to be on YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok, pump out content, stay relevant, chase the algorithm. And they're doing it. They're filming on their phones, grabbing trending audio, posting 3 times a week. But nobody's talking about the operational disaster waiting to happen when you don't document the process behind all that content. And I'm not just talking about missing a posting deadline or using the wrong hashtag. I'm talking about real business risk, the kind that costs you money, burns out your team, and turns what should be your biggest growth opportunity into your biggest headache. So let's talk about what actually needs to be documented when you're running a lean content operation and why this isn't just some nice-to-have checklist. This is risk management disguised as social media strategy. Quick thing before we dive deep, if you're a small business owner trying to crack the code on short-form content without losing your mind, hit subscribe. Seriously. And drop a comment right now telling me which platform you're focusing on most, Shorts, Reels, or TikTok, because each one has different operational quirks, and I want to know where you're spending your energy. All right, let's get into this. So here's what's actually happening out there. Small businesses are trying to compete with content creators who do this full time, except they're doing it with a team of maybe 2 or 3 people who also have 100 other responsibilities. You've got the owner who's supposed to be on camera but is also running the actual business. You've got someone part-time who's editing videos in between customer service calls. Maybe you've got a contractor who posts for you but doesn't really understand your brand voice. And everyone's winging it. There's a landscaping company that started creating reels showing before and after transformations. Great concept, right? Except here's what nobody documented. Which crew member was responsible for taking the before photo at each job site? So they'd finish a project, realize they never got the before shot, and the content opportunity was just gone. 12 jobs in a row, 12 missed pieces of content because nobody wrote down a simple protocol. Or there's a bakery doing TikToks with trending audio showing their decorating process. Blew up. One video got 400,000 views. Know what happened? Their DMs exploded with custom cake requests, and nobody had documented who was supposed to monitor and respond to social media inquiries. By the time they got to those messages 3 days later, half those potential customers had gone somewhere else. Here's the thing, and this is what really gets me. Small businesses think documentation is corporate bureaucracy. They think it slows them down. But the opposite is true. When you're running lean, you can't afford to waste motion. Every repeated question, every forgotten step, every "wait, how do we do this again?" is pure waste. So let's talk about what actually needs to be documented when you're building a short-form content machine on a small business budget. First off, content ideation and capture. This is where most businesses are completely flying blind. They post when they think of something, which means they post inconsistently, which means the algorithm doesn't favor them, which means they don't grow. You need a documented system for capturing ideas the moment they happen. And I don't mean a complicated app or workflow. There's a small plumbing company that keeps a shared note on their phones. Anytime a technician sees something interesting on a job, a weird problem they solved, a common mistake homeowners make, a question a customer asks, it goes in the note with a photo. Takes 10 seconds, but now they've got a running list of content ideas generated from actual customer interactions. That's documentation working for you instead of against you. Now, trending audio. This is where things get technically interesting because there's actual risk involved that nobody talks about. When you download trending audio from TikTok or Instagram to use in your content, you need a documented process for verifying you have the right to use it commercially. Here's the gotcha. Just because audio is trending doesn't mean it's cleared for business use. There are use cases where businesses have had their accounts flagged or their reach throttled because they used copyrighted music they didn't have commercial rights to, and they had no idea because nobody documented how to check. The simple solution? Document approved audio sources. Maybe it's Instagram's own audio library for Reels. Maybe it's Epidemic Sound or Artlist if you're paying for licensing. Maybe you've tested TikTok's commercial music library. Whatever it is, write it down. Make it a checklist. Before using trending audio, verify it's from X, Y, or Z approved source. Same thing with the actual production workflow. When you're filming on a smartphone, which is totally fine, by the way, phone cameras are incredible now, you need documented settings. Because here's what happens otherwise. Someone films vertical video for Reels, but accidentally has it in 4K, which creates massive file sizes that are slow to upload and edit. Or someone films in the wrong aspect ratio for YouTube Shorts, and now you're cropping and losing important visual information. Document your filming specs. Vertical 9:16 for Reels and TikTok, under 60 seconds for Shorts. 1080p is plenty. You don't need 4K eating up storage. Natural lighting when possible, but if you're filming indoors, document which rooms have the best light at which times of day. You know what I mean? These sound like tiny details, but when you're trying to maintain consistency across multiple pieces of content per week with a small team, these tiny details become massive time sinks if they're not documented. Let's talk about the editing and posting workflow, because this is where the wheels really come off for most small businesses. If you're using something like Descript, which is fantastic for this kind of work, you need documented templates, not just video templates, but project organization templates. There's a real estate agent creating shorts about home buying tips. She set up a Descript template with her intro animation, her lower third text style, her outro with her contact info. Now every video starts from that template instead of building from scratch. She documented it once, saved herself hours. But here's where it gets interesting from a risk perspective: file naming and storage. I cannot tell you how many small businesses are creating content chaos because they have no naming convention for their raw footage and edited projects. Think about this scenario. You're filming multiple pieces of content in one session to batch your work, which is smart. But if you're just saving everything as video 1, video 2, video final, you're going to lose track of what's what. 6 months from now, when you want to repurpose that content or see what performed well, you won't be able to find it. Document a simple naming convention. Date, platform, topic. So 2025-01-15 Real Pricing Tips tells you everything you need to know at a glance. Store everything in a structured folder system. Raw footage here, works in progress there, published content in a third folder. Takes 5 minutes to set up, saves you hours of searching later. Now here's the part that actually has legal and financial risk implications: approval workflows. When you're a small business creating content quickly, there's this temptation to just post without review. And sometimes that's fine, but sometimes it's not. Check. There's a financial services business that started creating TikToks explaining investment concepts. Good educational content, except they posted something with a specific rate of return example, and it could have been interpreted as a guarantee, which would have been a compliance violation in their industry. Fortunately, they caught it and took it down quickly, but they learned anything mentioning numbers, prices, guarantees, or legal claims needs a documented approval step. You don't need some elaborate 3-layer approval process. You just need to document. Content mentioning X, Y, or Z gets reviewed by a specific person before posting. Simple, clear, protects you. And speaking of protection, let's talk about account access and security. Small businesses often have multiple people posting to the same social accounts: the owner, a part-timer, maybe a contractor. If you don't have documented protocols for password management and access control, you're creating real security risk. Use a password manager. Document who has access to what. Document your 2-factor authentication backup codes and where they're stored. Because there are use cases where businesses have lost access to accounts with thousands of followers because the only person with multi-factor authentication access left the company and there was no documented backup authentication method. Here's where most small businesses completely miss the point of short-form content. They're so focused on views and likes that they forget to document how content actually drives business. You're not creating content for entertainment. You're creating it to attract customers, which means you need documented systems for tracking what works. There's a fitness studio creating YouTube shorts showing quick workout tips. They put a link in their bio to a free trial class. Sounds good, right? except they had no way of tracking which specific videos were driving people to click that link. So they didn't know if their form tips were working better than their nutrition advice. They were creating content in the dark. The fix? They started using UTM parameters, little tracking codes in their links, for each video. Now they can see exactly which content drives conversions. And they documented the process. For each new video, generate a unique UTM link using this format. Takes 30 seconds per video, gives them actual data. Same thing with responding to comments and DMs. When someone comments on your reel asking about pricing or availability, that's a sales opportunity. But if nobody's documented who's responsible for monitoring and responding, those opportunities die. Document response protocols. Who checks comments? How often? What's the standard response time? For DM inquiries, who handles them? And what's the handoff process if it needs to go to sales? There's a home renovation company that documented a simple rule. Any comment or DM asking about services gets responded to within 4 hours during business days with a standard message that includes a link to their contact form. They tracked it. Their conversion rate from social inquiry to booked consultation went up 60% just by being responsive and consistent. Hey, quick pause. If this is clicking for you, if you're realizing you need better systems around your content creation, do me a favor and hit that like button and drop a comment telling me, what's the biggest operational headache you're dealing with when trying to create consistent content, file management, team coordination, not knowing what works? Tell me, because that helps me create content that actually addresses what you're struggling with. So here's what this all comes down to. The businesses winning with short-form content in 2025 and 2026 aren't the ones with the biggest budgets or the fanciest equipment. They're the ones who've documented their processes so they can create consistently without burning out. Because here's the dirty secret about algorithms. Consistency beats perfection. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, they all reward regular posting. But you can't post regularly if every single video is a chaotic scramble to figure out what to film, how to edit it, where to save it, when to post it, how to track it. Documentation isn't about being corporate or bureaucratic. It's about taking the decisions you've already made and making them repeatable. It's about taking the things that work and making sure they keep working when you're busy or when someone new joins your team. And from a risk management perspective, it's about protecting yourself, protecting your time, your brand, your accounts, your opportunities. The messy reality is that great content doesn't just happen. There's unglamorous back-end work, checklists, templates, protocols, file systems. But that back-end work is what lets you be creative and consistent on the front end. Think about it this way. Every hour you spend documenting your process is an hour you're saving yourself every week going forward. That's not overhead, that's leverage. So here's what you do. Pick one part of your content workflow that's currently causing you the most friction. Maybe it's coming up with ideas, maybe it's editing, maybe it's posting consistently, maybe it's tracking results. Just one part. This week, document it. Write down the steps. Create a simple checklist or template. Put it somewhere your team can actually access it. Then next week, pick another part and document that. You don't have to overhaul your entire operation overnight. You just have to start building systems that work for you instead of against you. And if you want more content like this, practical operations and risk management strategies for small businesses navigating the realities of modern marketing, subscribe to this channel. We're cutting through the hype and giving you the knowledge you actually need to grow sustainably. Drop a comment telling me what you're going to document first. I read every single one, and your feedback helps me understand what's actually valuable to you. Thanks for watching. Now go document something.